In the spring of 2014, Palestinians announced the reconciliation between the radical Muslim Hamas organization that rules the Gaza Strip and the more secular radical Fatah faction that rules the West Bank. This is not the first such announcement, so it is still doubtful whether the agreement will be implemented. Nevertheless, if elections are held as planned, they would be the first in nearly 9 years. The presidential term of Mahmoud Abbas expired long ago, but he has used his dictatorial powers to remain in office. Some people believe that unification of the Palestinian factions is a positive development, as it allows the Palestinian factions to speak with one voice. The decision to reconcile, however, had nothing to do with advancing the peace process and everything to do with rescuing Hamas from its weakened position and giving Abbas the opportunity to claim he represents all the Palestinian people when he asks the international community to circumvent negotiations with Israel and declare a Palestinian state by fiat. Rather than move closer to peace, allowing Hamas to return to the Palestinian Authority government presents grave dangers to Israel and to Jordan. Rather than an indication that Hamas has moderated its position, it appears that Fatah has become more radical. For example, Fatah Central Committee member Tawfiq Tirawi declared on April 29, 2014, that the two-state solution does not exist, and that Fatah's goal is to return to the option of one Palestine from the river to the sea. As soon as the deal was announced, it was clear Hamas had not changed its policies to meet the demands made by the West to qualify for acceptance in negotiations. Hamas strategist Mahmoud al-Zahar said Hamas would not recognize Israel's right to exist and would not allow Fatah to command any of their terrorist forces. Spokesman Sami Abu Zuri declared that Mahmoud Abbas should withdraw from peace talks immediately because Hamas will not give any cover for any negotiations with the enemy. Most telling was the declaration by Hamas leader Khalid Mashal that the path of Hamas remains resistance and the rifle, and our choice is jihad, Mashal said. There is no past or future without jihad and resistance. Jihad is our path. If the reconciliation goes forward, it would likely trigger congressional action based on legislation calling for a cutoff of aid to the Palestinian Authority if the new unity government does not recognize Israel and commit itself to past agreements. The danger to Israel from a unity government is that it represents the abandonment of the two-state principle and the adoption of the radical Muslim objective of replacing Israel with an Islamic Palestinian state. Israel must now prepare for the possibility that Hamas terrorists will establish a base in the West Bank, where the rockets they've fired from Gaza to terrorize Israelis in the south can be directed toward Israel's industrial and demographic heartland and strike Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Ben Gurion Airport. Jordan is also frightened by the prospect of having a radical Muslim regime on its doorstep. King Abdullah has tried to suppress extremists in his country and has in the past expelled Hamas and Fatah members from Jordan. The Arab Spring has served notice to authoritarian rulers that they can be toppled by a popular uprising led by Islamists. The reconciliation of Hamas and Fatah is not a step in the direction of peace, but rather a harbinger of further violence. If a newly radicalized Palestinian Authority directs terror in the direction of Israel, Jordan, or both, regional stability as well as Western interests will be undermined.